Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pop and Prose podcast. Today's show is going to be all about music, specifically music from 2025. Right now, we're recording this at the near the end of July. This show will probably go up early August, but there's been a lot of great music released this year. So I wanted to talk to a fellow music lover about this, and this is my friend Bill Cooper. Welcome to the show, Bill.
Hello, everyone. How's it going?
Bill was on my old show on the Gotta Pop show. It's been about 2 years ago since that happened, and that was fun because at that time you were doing a massive listening project, weren't you?
Yes,
How many
yes.
how many albums were you trying to listen to that year?
1,001 albums in 1 year, and I ended up getting to 857, I think. So I did pretty
Wow,
good.
you did
Um,
really
yeah.
good.
I think the reason I had the most trouble is because I was trying to also put out a video that was like a sitcom style thing,
Oh,
and there's too much going on at once with that thing. And I think that if I had just written about it, I think it would have been a little bit easier. But yeah, I listened to 857 albums from the 1,001 albums you must hear before you die. So
yeah,
that was
that was so cool that you were doing that, and I loved those videos you did too. You
oh,
have
thank you.
multiple versions of you. You had like Hippie
Yes,
Bill
yes,
and
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
that was a lot of fun. So we're going to talk about, like we said, albums from this year,
Mhm.
and boy, oh boy, I'm still doing. I don't know if you had tried this before, Bill, but what you just did there was 10 times harder than what I'm doing. Is the past 4 years, I've tried to listen to 100 new to me albums every year. That doesn't mean that they have to be brand new releases, but it can be stuff from 40, 50 years ago, but also new stuff too. I just mix it back and forth and back and forth. And right now, I think I'm at like 75 albums for the year, which I'm very happy with. I'm way ahead of schedule considering it's the end of July. But in that, of course, is a lot of new music. Every week, new music generally comes out on Fridays. I go to multiple places I follow online to see new album releases, and there's been quite, like I said, quite a bit of new albums released this year. We've each decided to narrow it down to five. And so, Bill, why don't you take it off? Why don't you share your first album of your five
Absolutely,
favorites?
absolutely, yeah. So hey, you're 100% right. Like there's good music that comes out every year. It's just a matter of finding it. And
Yes.
for me, this year, one of the ones that I had was Eiko Ishibashi's Antigone, which is kind of a weirder album. I don't. It's like it's so she is a Japanese artist. She's primarily known for soundtracks. So
Oh, okay.
she did one for Raisuke Hamaguchi's movie Drive My Car, which is based on the Haruki Murakami book short story collection. It's one of the
Oh,
stories from there. Men Without Women is the collection. And so
very
she did
interesting.
that. And so she did that like background that backing soundtrack for that one. And then she also did another one for his movie Evil Does Not Exist. So she's like very much entrenched in that like soundtrack type of deal. So like when you listen to that album specifically, there's a lot of like soundtracky stuff going on in it. You hear like ambient vocals and stuff like that going on top in the background. Well, you just have like some really weird and interesting like jazz mixing with ambient stuff. So it's kind of a weird album. It's definitely one of those albums that you want to listen to a couple times to like feel like you understand or get at a little bit more. It's hard for me to say like everybody has their own take of what it's about, but in general, like just a couple of good tracks on it. Like there's Coma and The Model. Both of those tracks I think really encapsulate like the dark and interesting like aspects of it. So it's in my opinion, obviously, as I picked it, pretty good. So
Yeah, and I listened to it twice over the past couple
yeah,
days, and I was doing stuff around my home. I had my headphones on,
yeah,
and it's funny you brought up the soundtrack stuff because
yeah,
I almost felt like I was listening to a soundtrack because there were,
yes,
the songs varied so much, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I mean, I would say a good deal of it's pretty chill,
yes.
and which I like, and I definitely want to listen to more. And you like other music by her as well?
Yeah, so she kind of like jumps into different like she's got her like soundtrack stuff, which I recommend both those. Like if you listen to either of those, like they're as good on their own as they are with the movie. Evil Without Does Not Exist specifically. That one was the soundtrack was made first, and then the director wrote the script for the movie based on what he heard from the soundtrack. So
Oh,
they
wow.
have a very like strong working relationship. But beyond that, she's done like a lot of jazz stuff too. I think there's like a jazz album that she put out like a couple of years ago. I can't remember, of course, the name of it. But that she's into like both those spheres of like ambient and then also like jazz stuff. So yeah, definitely recommend her other music as
Okay,
well.
yeah, definitely want
Yeah.
to check out more of her music. And
Yeah.
what's been fun for me with this here is, folks, we told each other beforehand, ladies and gentlemen, what we were going to be talking about, and I had not heard of any of the artists that you're covering today, so it was fun for me to check it out. Like you, I just love discovering new music. I love discovering artists I've never heard before. Most of the artists I'm going to be talking about here have been around for a long, long time. And well, should I? Did you have anything more you wanted to
No,
say?
I didn't. I mean, my favorite part, I was going to say, my favorite part about the ones you picked is like, I'd heard of all these artists, obviously, but I like have like either like sort of like a connection with them, but like, or like not like I've heard like maybe one of their albums back in the 70s or something, but like I don't like been following them throughout. So like, it's really interesting to like hear one of their albums and I'm like, whoa, first of all, they're still producing music. And also like, whoa, it's really good. And also very different than sometimes my conception of what they used to put out. So yeah.
And I
So
remember
I'm,
your reaction to this first artist I'm going to
yeah,
talk about was sort of
cool.
like that. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to put these do these in the order they came out this year. This came out in May. It's actually May 9th. It is Butter Miracle: The Complete Suites by Counting Crows.
That's a really good one.
And this is actually a follow up to an EP that they released in May of 2021 called Butter Miracle Suite One. They're going to be released, initially, that Suite One, and then later he was going to do Suite Two. But the project got stalled for a while, multiple reasons for that that are too complex, I guess, for me to go into here. But I remember when it came out. The first one, the EP, I really didn't pay much attention to it at the time, which looking back now, I kind of kick myself for. It only had, let me see, 4 songs on it. And I think I had heard the first one, and it didn't knock me out. And I think I was kind of, this sounds mean, but I was kind of annoyed that they were putting out an EP rather than an album because I like these guys a lot. I've been a fan since their stuff came out in the early 90s. And I was just like, oh no, what are they doing? I wish that they were doing a full album. So I kind of, and also, I was just really busy that year. so, so I didn't really give it its due then. But what they did now is they released the complete suites rather, where they've added an additional 5 songs. The new songs are the first 5 on the album, and then the remaining 4 are from the EP from a couple years ago. And as a whole, I would say this is right up there, probably now in my top 3 favorite Counting Crows albums. My favorite ones by them are their very first one, August and Everything After, which I know you mentioned before, Mr. Jones. It
I
was
know
the
Mr.
song you probably
Jones.
know
That's about
best,
it.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that was their first big hit, and that is one of my favorite albums by anybody. I think it's one of the best debut albums by any act ever. It's one I still return to regularly, and I loved their first few albums a lot. And then I think like maybe like early 21st century, I was listening to them a little bit less. Again, in part just because our moods change. We have different things going on in our
Of
lives,
course. Yeah.
and I got married and I wasn't listening to music as much, so I missed out on some of their stuff. But all in all, I think this is one of their best albums. There's some standout tracks on here. In particular, I love God. Really, I could name every song on this album. There's nothing on it that I don't like. Some of their albums, even albums of theirs that I love, there might be 1 or 2 songs that I might tend to skip over. This, not at all. It's a really, really solid album, and I would say that if you have not heard it, which is likely, music is different now. It's not like you're going to hear the new Counting Crows music or a lot of the old bands on the radio. You're not going to be exposed to those. I don't even know how many people listen to radio anymore. I barely do. Most of my stuff's online, Spotify and Sirius and things like that. But if you were ever a fan of Counting Crows, I highly, highly, highly recommend this album.
I agree. Like I was kind of blown away because it's like one of those like I don't know like so for me like the first time like I think it was like is it the second song Spaceman in Tulsa
Yes,
the yeah that one like I hear that song and I was just like whoa okay so like that one specifically was a standout good lyrics good storytelling great melody quotable
yeah,
lines like
love that one.
it just feels like I was like and I'm just like listening and a couple of the other songs too like they seem to like and it makes sense because I think the first album came. You said was it like '90s or 2000s? When was the first
It was
album?
90s. I believe it
Okay,
was 95.
For some reason this album, like, I at times felt like it had like a 2000s ish like pop rock feel. I felt like some like in a good way. It was like uplifting sound, and like I was into it. Some of it reminded me of Train for some reason, and like I
I
just
can
like,
see that. Yeah.
yeah, and I really liked, I just really throughout every like you're 100% correct, like every boom boom boom, every song was just really well written and really and just catchy and enjoyable to listen to. So I don't have anything specific more to say about it other than that specific one, Under the Aurora and Spaceman and Tulsa. Both of those I think were the
Yeah.
two that really stood
Under
out for
the
me. But
Aurora is probably my favorite on it. I
yeah,
love like the back and forth between Adam Duritz doing the lead vocals, and Adam has always wrote all the songs on this album.
yep,
He's their main songwriter, but him singing lead, I guess it's like what they call the, I guess, the call and answer. He says a line,
yeah.
they sort of reply to it, and they just sound so good on it. And there's a really good music video for that too. If you're into watching videos,
I'll
folks,
have to
check
check
that
it.
out.
Yeah, check that out. Yeah, yeah. No, it's a really impressive album. I did, like I said, I all I knew about Counting Crows was under the was Mr. Jones, and like I've heard that song so many times that like it's like almost made me like, I'm like, oh my god, this song again. But like to
Yeah.
hear this like this stuff and just be like, okay, like there's a lot of range and stuff that they're able to do that now I have to check out like their older stuff and see what else they do, because I was really impressed. So
Well, excellent, excellent.
yeah.
You're probably the same way that I love when I recommended an album to someone and they ended up liking
Yeah, yeah.
it.
Oh,
And
I
what's
know,
neat,
I know.
and what's neat is,
Exactly.
we're not exactly like the same age either. So,
No,
it's kind of cool for me to see that. So, why don't you take it with your next album, my friend?
sure. They are not in any order here. I guess I could try
Oh,
to
you don't have
but
to.
no, that's a good idea. I
I'm
was like,
just
oh,
a
I should have
nerd
done that.
that way.
I should have done that. I was like, that's what I thought. I know which one I'll talk about next. So I'll talk about Horse Girl, which
Mm,
so Phonetics on and on. I'm actually wearing the t-shirt. The I went to see these guys live. Like I've seen them twice live, and
okay.
I've wrote reviews on them both times, and they've really improved in the past year. And part of that is because in their first album they were really trying to like mimic their influences. So like their first album like sounds a lot like Sonic Youth and like has like a very like punky vibe, and it's really funny. You hear that if you haven't listened. I don't think you've listened to their first album, right, buddy?
No, no.
No, so their first album is like very different, like sonically than this album, which is
Huh?
just very like minimalistic and poppy and indie and like indie pop type of stuff. And like this one, like they kind of just tried to figure out what they like. I feel like they're found themselves a little bit more. So, and I feel like they've gotten more confident in what that sounds like. So the two of them that wrote like a bunch of the songs, Phoebe Lowenstein and Nora Chang, they like go to school for English. They're going to school right now for English, an English degree in at NYU. And
Oh,
so while they're touring and everything else, I don't know how they're doing that, but in between they're writing these songs. And so a lot of the songs, they're using like English linguistic stuff to like make it sound pleasant. So like a lot of it, like all these like the way the words like don't always mean anything, but mean anything, but it's more about just like the sound of them. So really pleasant sounding songs, and then just like really interesting, like even though like there isn't like a ton, like there's not, it's not like a wall of sound, you don't hear like a lot of like different layers in the album. It's pretty minimalistic, but like they're able to do little things throughout a song that still catch your ear and are interesting. So it's definitely one of those albums that like I just like most of the songs on it. But Where'd You Go, Julie, Switch Over, 2468 and Front Runner are like some of my really favorites. And it's really just like everything from sounding simplistic, but then there's like stuff going on around it that like shows its complexity. So I was really impressed by it.
excellent. And yeah, and I noticed that when I listened to it. I haven't
Yeah,
listened, I listened to about 75% of it so
yeah.
far. And I had it on when I was I have an exercise bike back there. You probably can't see it, but
Oh, that's
I had my
perfect.
headphones on and I was just riding the stationary bike and I was listening to it. I was like, whoa, this is really good. And like you said, some things that might sound like more simplistic, there's other layers to it. And I really, really liked what I heard, and I'm curious to hear more from them. Are they an indie act? I get indie vibe
They
from
they
them.
are they are they so they're yeah, their first album they released it when they were like 18 years old. They were like really young, and they're still really young. And then like then they released this album a couple years later. It's really funny because in their first they had an interview like early on where like they a music journalist asked them like who would be like your dream producer to work with, and they said Kate LeBon. And so it's funny because she heard about that and she's like, oh, I love your music, and then they worked together on this album. So like so they got their dream producer, they got like where they wanted to work. Like it's one of those things where like for an act this early on to like get that type of like recognition and clout and like be able to like work with who they want to, it's really exciting.
Yeah.
And they're also just really good live, and they're really young, and it's one of those things where you're like, okay, like this is cool, I hope like, but you're it's like weird because like they're going to school and you're like wonder like, okay, like what's their plan after this? Are
Right.
they gonna kind of like go off their own? Are they gonna do like more together? But regardless, I just think there's three really strong musicians that
Wow.
I'm excited to see what comes out with them.
That's so impressive. I mean,
Yeah,
to
it's
be that
amazing.
young and even still be in college and doing all this,
I don't know how they're doing it. Like they
really,
are literally
it makes
touring
me
and
feel
then
like I
coming
need to
back.
step it up here.
I know, it's nuts. But yeah, it's yeah, they're like I think they're like in their like early 20s is what they're
Wow,
with.
very,
Yeah.
very cool. I'm excited to check out the rest of the album that I haven't heard yet, and maybe go
Yeah.
back to that first one too. And the next album for me is by a very popular artist. This came out at the end of May, on May 30th, by Miley Cyrus, and it is her ninth studio album, and it's called Something Beautiful. And Miley Cyrus has surprised me a little bit the past few years in terms of maybe I'm more surprised by the fact of how much I've been enjoying her music. I've never had anything against her, but naturally, well, I'm sure most people know that when she first became popular, she was very, very young. She started in a TV show. She played Hannah Montana. She was a big teen idol. And, you know, back then, already being a grown up, I didn't pay attention to her music. And then, unfortunately, for a lot of artists who are in those kinds of situations like her, where they are like a teen idol, teen star on a Disney show, their career kind of doesn't go much further than that. But hers certainly has. I mean, as she's gone further into her adult years, I assume she's, I don't know, maybe in her 30s now. I don't know. But
I think so.
her music just keeps growing, takes on more depth. She is certainly, if she's not as popular or more popular than she was before, she's got to be darn close to it. I mean, her last couple albums have been very critically acclaimed. They've had hit after hit on them. Her last one is the one that kind of turned me on to her music, and that was 2023's Endless Summer Vacation, which had contained the big hit song Flowers. I really liked Flowers a lot, and that album ended up being one of my top favorites of 2023. So when this one came out, Something Beautiful, I was really excited to hear it, and this was one that you told me that you considered
I
talking
did.
about today.
I did actually. Yeah. I was glad to hear that you picked it because like I was going back and forth on it, and I'm glad you picked it because like it's I finally feel like she's gotten like figured out like what she actually like what music works well with her voice. Like it's really
Hmm.
like this like psych rock type of stuff that she's doing in this album, and like we like and soul stuff and like all these like some disco stuff like, but it's just
Yeah.
like a lot of like rock inspired, and like I think like that just works well with her like the rasp in her voice and stuff, and I think it just it like connects in this way that I just yeah, from what I experienced in the past, like you think of like her older like very poppy stuff to like
Hmm.
her transformation to like this newer stuff. I'm very into like what she's putting out now, so I agree it's a very good album.
Yeah, it's a very good album, very solid. Apparently, I was reading the description of it. They say it's a visual album with existential themes centered around healing from trauma and finding beauty in the darkest moments of life. And I can see that from the songs on it. Apparently, she's released videos for most of the songs on the most, if not all, of the songs on the album. I think there's even a special on Hulu where you can watch all of these videos that came out, I think, a few weeks after the album did. But I made a list of standout tracks for this album, and again, it's the majority of the album. I mean, one great song after the other. The first single from it knocked me out as soon as I heard it, and it's called "End of the World." And
Yes.
to me, it's like I think it's one of the best pop songs I've heard of this decade. It's just really a great pop song, but it's another one too that's got some depth to it. You know, singing about about problems, and you know, my goodness, it's called End of the World. And what I love about it, I think it's very well produced. I love there's the background vocals, and there's O's a lot in it, and then there's a great recurring line of "The sky is falling," and the background singer sounds so great with her singing lead. I think it's a great song. There's some other ones, great slow song in there called "More to Lose." The second single was called "Easy Lover."
I like that
Um,
one.
and Brittany Howard plays guitar on that. She also plays guitar and sings on another song on the album. Another great song is called "Golden Burning Sun." I loved that one right away. Another one I think it was at least very popular in terms of a music video is "Walk of Fame." Yeah, that's the one with Brittany, the other one with Brittany
Yeah.
Howard, and it's got a fantastic beat. And there's just so many good things. There's another one too that I know. My goodness, there's a music video for it. It's called "Every Girl You've Ever Loved." Do you remember that one? And that
Yes. Oh
features
yeah.
the supermodel Naomi Campbell. She speaks throughout the song, and it's a disco pop kind of song. Very empowering lyrics, I think. And I saw that as of yesterday, it has like 4.4 million views on YouTube. It's got a great music video. I think most of her videos from this album have done along those lines. It's just really, really good. There's other things too. Reborn, it's got some great lines in it. Give Me Love is the closing track. I mean, for me, when I listened to this, this might sound like corny to say this, but I mean, when I was listening to it, I was sort of got the same feeling I did when I listened, I guess it's about 5 years ago, to Taylor Swift's Folklore album. Where as I was listening, I'm thinking, for this performance, I think this is pretty epic. I mean, this is really just, a fantastic album. Track after track, great music, great vocals, great lyrics. Very impressive. It kind of blew me away.
Yeah, that so her inspiration I was for like was Pink Floyd's The Wall, which is like quite a thing to say, but I actually feel like she does pull off that type of like
I see that.
epicness in it. And I mean I wrote about this one. I reviewed it very positively, and it's part of the reason I think that like it's so good is just like it grapples with all these themes in like that you talk about like healing and stuff like that in a very interesting way. Like, and I feel like a lot of it's like about her like coming to like terms with the fact that like as a young like teen idol, like trying to grasp like okay, like that's not my people's public perception of me isn't like necessarily like that's not always me, and it's like her trying to like work through those feelings. I think in a
Hmm.
lot of songs like Walk of Fame, you see it. Every Girl You Ever Loved, you see it. And it's just like and I just like I really liked just like like you said, the epic sound, and just like also just like how it really does feel like a Sonic movie when you're hearing it. And then then she released all these videos that I still haven't seen yet. I need to check out, but like I know that like it was supposed to be one big event. I think she had like one small screening of it or something, but
Oh, okay.
I
Gotcha.
I I I have not seen them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were as good as the as like working together if they worked in
Yeah.
tandem well.
Yeah, from
So
what I've seen,
yeah.
they really seem to. And one thing I love too is I watch some of these videos on YouTube, and I love reading the comments on YouTube
Oh, I know.
videos. And obviously some of these are from her diehard fans, but
Yes.
people seem so moved by and touched by this album in whole. I mean, like someone that said they felt it was like almost like a religious experience for them because they seem to connect with every song on the album and different like struggles that she sings about. And other people were just saying they thought it was like the album of the year. They think it should be a big award winner. And while awards are nice, they don't mean everything. But I think it's a pretty damn good album.
I agree with that. Yeah, I really hope that we see it on a lot of end of year lists. I know that she sometimes gets shunned for her because of her earlier work, and
Yeah.
I do think that's changing. Like you
I do
said, like
too.
like her last album definitely got some acclaim, and partially from that single Flowers. But I do think like this kind of shows just her musicianship and just like her ability to like take an entire concept and make a full album, and
Yeah.
like to do that. Like I mean like a pop star can do a song or two that are good, but like you said, like there's a difference between that and like folklore Taylor Swift or this. There's just like you could tell there's like a craft being handled here, and that's what she's doing. So
Yeah, exactly. And I'll let you talk in a second, but
yeah, no, no, you're
but I was
good.
just going to say one last thing about it, and that's that I know a lot of people, maybe even younger people, but middle aged and older too, seem to not be as interested in full albums as they used to be. And I don't know if that's in part because music is more accessible to us than ever before, more easily accessible between, streaming services like Spotify, Apple Music, Sirius, where yet people love to hop around a lot. But I would say that if you are like that, and you've liked the singles you've heard from this album, do yourself a favor and take the time to listen to the whole album. It's one that you want to sit down and listen to, or you can stand, just check out the whole album. It's worth it.
Yeah,
I
no,
feel like
absolutely. It was it's definitely intentionally crafted that way, and you really get the full experience if you do it that way. So I agree with you. Yeah.
Absolutely. What else you got for us, my friend?
I got, let me do. The next one I had, I'll do Hayden Pedigo's I'll Be Waving As You Drive Away. And
Excellent.
so he is another interesting guy, pretty young. He is just kind of like a weird dude. Like he lives out in he used to live out in Amarillo, Texas, in the Panhandle. And I don't know, he just like he was known on, he's got on social media and like used to like wear these like weird like cowboy clothes and like weird like fits, and then like all of a sudden Gucci reached out to him to be like a model for their clothing, and he
Really?
accepted and did that. Yes. And then he ran against some like he like ran for like a small position on town council
Yeah,
as
I've
a
read that he was a
joke
politician.
as
Yeah.
a joke, and then he exposed like some corruption within the region, and there's a whole movie made about
Whoa.
him. Yeah, he's
Are you
it's
serious? There's a movie
yes,
about it?
yeah, yes, Kid Candidate is what it's called. Yes, so this
Oh,
guy
wow.
is like does other stuff in addition to his music, but his music does not like sound like this would be from this guy, because like it's very like in the style of primitive guitar, which John Fahey is the guy he like takes a lot of inspiration from. He's like an old like guitarist, like, but it's just like it's a lot of like acoustic, like strumming guitar, like finger picking stuff. But that's what a lot of his older albums are, and I feel like this album really takes in some psychedelic rock stuff to it. So there's a lot of like there's like some King Crimson in there. There's like some like weird like
Yeah.
other instrumentation. There's some new age type Wyndham Hill stuff. Like there's a lot of like interesting music stuff happening in the background while he's like doing just like this acoustic finger picking stuff, and it's like really cool. I've heard a bunch of his other albums earlier, and they just like they're getting at sort of a lot of this stuff, but this is the first album that I feel like everything's like working all together in this like really like beautiful, awesome way. But yeah, I mean, like, the whole album's it's another one of these albums that like I feel like is better if you just listen to the whole thing, because you really get like into the whole sound of it. It's like very like country tinged, atmospheric, like again soundtrack sounding like at times epic like sounding stuff, and it really does when you know where he comes from, like that area of the Texas Panhandle where it's like very open sky, very like desolate. You can kind of hear, and he recorded this one I think in Oklahoma, but like you can still get that, it's still that same sense of like openness in the music. So yeah.
It's funny, you had just said, there was atmospheric, and
Yeah.
I listened to it a couple times now, and I was just about to describe it that way myself. I put it on. I was very, 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 happy with how much I like this album. This is probably my favorite of the five that you're talking
Oh,
about.
that's awesome.
Well, it
Yeah.
might be tied with another one, but it's so much different than the other one that we'll get to that later. But
Awesome.
yeah, I really, really love it. It's like I said, it's all instrumental. And do you know if his other albums are they all strictly instrumental as far as you know, or?
Pretty much, as far as I know.
Yeah.
I don't think he really doesn't speak or do any. There's on the end of this album, if you buy the record, the vinyl, he like at the end he actually speaks and like goes through and talks about like all the credits on the album
Oh,
as like
okay.
a little
That's
thing.
pretty
But
cool.
like yeah, which is cool. But like in general, no, you don't hear his voice. It's just guitar, and a lot of his earlier ones are less there's less like going on in the background. It's just more just acoustic guitar type stuff, which is great. But
Yeah.
this I think just has a little more going on in it that really will appeal to like a wider audience.
Yeah,
So
I really, really, like I said, I was knocked out by it. I loved it, and I like to listen to music while I write. I'm writing a novel right now, and generally, when it's an artist that I'm unfamiliar with, I can't listen to them when I'm writing because it's distracting. Because it'll be like, oh, what did they sing there? What did they say there? And this one, it's just like. It kind of went perfectly with what I was writing yesterday, and I just, like I said, I listened
awesome.
to it twice all the way through. Very, very cool music. I think if you want to chill or just have stuff on in the background, or just put your headphones on and enjoy, it's really a damn good album. What's the title of it again? It's got a cool title.
Yeah, I'll be waving as you drive away is the name
That's
of it.
excellent. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a cool guy. I'm excited to see he had a really good uh NPR music Tiny Desk concert that he did that I really like too. So if you want to see him play live, like that's a good one. His videos are kind of goofy as you would expect it, as knowing his background, but he definitely is a really interesting guy. So I'm very excited to see like where he continues to go throughout the years.
Excellent. I'm curious now
Yeah.
to check out his older
Yeah.
music
Yeah,
too.
it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
The last two I would definitely check if you like that one. It's a trilogy of albums, like the Motor trilogy or something,
Oh,
because it
okay.
uses that same artwork, like that style of the artwork on the album. So like the same painter did the three of them. So the last two previous are going to be similar, most similar sonically to the other to that
Oh,
one.
wonderful,
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah.
Speaking of albums too, you, for the people who are listening to the audio of this, you're not going to be able to appreciate this as much as I am right now, and others who might be watching. You've got some cool
I
albums behind you. You
have a
mentioned
ton.
Pink Floyd earlier, and I believe I
Yeah.
see the legendary Dark Side of the Moon.
Yes, yeah, that's a poster for that. And then I
Yeah.
got up there, I
Yep.
got like a jet. I got that's a jazz like collection there,
And I
the
see Get the
Smithsonian
Knack.
collection. And then I got Get the Knack, which is
Ah, I love that
yeah,
album.
yeah, I love it too.
Very, very
I,
cool. I just had
I
to comment on them.
no, thank you. Yeah, that's I want to write a post on Substacks at point about like all the history of that album because it is really interesting and like all about power pop, but like I haven't gotten there yet. But yeah, I love that album a lot,
Yeah, it's
especially
a really good power pop album, and yeah, they had it's just one great song after another.
yes.
So excellent, excellent. Well, I'm going to move on to a group that I have been a fan of for most of my life, and I'm actually wearing a shirt of them right now. It
Hell
is
yeah.
the Doobie Brothers. The Doobie Brothers are the first band I ever saw in concert.
Oh my god.
This was in September of 1980. I was just about to start high school at the time, and if you had told me then, almost 45 years ago, that this band would be releasing a new album 45 years later, I'd have just said you were crazy. And actually, they broke up for a little while. They reformed and gone through different incarnations in terms of their band members. And what I love about this, my favorite era of the Doobie Brothers is the era featuring Michael McDonald as a member, which was relatively short-lived at first. He joined them, I want to say, in 1975. They released the Taking It to the Streets album. They had, I think, 4 or 5 albums before, well, the album that I saw them on their tour for. It was the One Step Closer album, which was released in 1980. That was the last studio album that he was a full member on. Like I said, they went through breakups. Various different band members throughout the decades since then. But he got back together with them a few years back for a big reunion tour. I think it was like the 50th anniversary of the band, and toured for a couple years. And they decided, hey, let's do an album. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me! Michael McDonald's doing an album with the Doobie Brothers again, and it came out on June 6th. And oh boy, I was worried going into it because when you got one of your favorite groups and they do something like this, you're like, oh my God, is it going to be good? Is it going to let me down? And I'm happy to say that I'm very happy with it. It's really a damn good album. It's called Walk This Road. I don't know if I mentioned that, but the title track, which is the first song of the album, it features legendary gospel singer Mavis Staples singing with them, and you've got Michael McDonald singing lead, but he sings also. He shares the lead vocals with Tom, or they call him Tommy Johnston, who was basically the leader of the band from the get-go, sang songs like China Grove and some of their big hits. And what's kind of neat for me on this album is that even though Mike's shown up on like some reunion tours in the past and there's been live music, on the studio albums, you never heard his voice much with Tom Johnston. Because Tom Johnston had left the band, Michael came in to replace him. I think Tom sang on one song on Taking It to the Street, so you heard their voices together a little bit. So this is the first studio album where you really get to hear their voices, and also along with Pat Simmons, who was the other lead singer for the band, who sang popular songs like Black Water. And hearing them trade off on vocals throughout the album is great. I think my favorite song on it is actually the one that is primarily sung by Pat Simmons, and that's Angels and Mercy. It's one of the first songs on the album, and he does the lead vocals. It's really, really good song. And Michael McDonald sing. You can hear his voice very predominantly in the background. I always loved how their voices sounded together during the Michael McDonald era of the Doobies. And "Learn to Let Go" is another great song on there. "Here to Stay." It's my favorite of the Tom Johnson songs on the album, and it's another one too where him and McDonald's voices sound so great together, and I just love it. It's very, very good album. It's one that it's probably of the ones I'm talking about today. It's probably the one I've played the most. Um, I don't know if I compared it to the other albums that Michael did with the Doobies. Well, I don't know if that's even fair to do. It's like over 40 years later, and there's some different band members there. But I like it a lot. I think it holds up very well. The final song on the album is one I like quite a bit. It's called Lahaina. And it is about, it was actually the first single that was released from the album. It was actually released last year, and it was a charity single that they did. Lahaina, I hope I'm saying it right, is actually a community or a section of Maui. And back in 2023, unfortunately, 80% of Lahaina was destroyed by a series of horrible wildfires there. So, and they released this as a single with uh, in the hopes that they would raise money for a charity for the people of Maui. And I think the Doobie Brothers too were contributing $100,000 on their part, towards this. And this song featured some other famous residents of Malibu. Mick Fleetwood from Fleetwood Mac. He has lived on Maui for years. He plays drums on the song. You've got a famous musician. He plays ukulele. I'm going to say his name wrong, but it's Jake, I think Shimabukuro.
You're very close. Yeah, it's something like that. Shimabukuro. Yeah,
Something
I
like
think
that.
you're
I saw a
correct. Yeah.
concert of his years ago, a video, and he just blew me away. He's this amazing, amazing musician. And another famous Hawaiian musician who I'm not familiar with, his name is Henry Capano. Apparently, he's been around for decades. So
Yep.
they all play on this. It's a good song. It's a nice chill song that closes out the album. In some ways, I wondered if it was a good one to have on there because it's kind of a bummer hearing this, thinking, "Oh wow, this area was destroyed so much by fire." But it's not like they're singing about the fire in the song. It's more about how much Lahaina means to them. So I thought it was a fitting close to the album. And I'll shut up now, but the Doobies, because I
No, no,
could go on and
you're
on.
good. I'm glad I was nice getting all this background because like, and it's funny that you mentioned that some of your favorite stuff is like taking it to the streets and like that era because that is the era I'm probably the most familiar with, and I did not know like that was like Michael McDonald. I don't know much about the Doobies, but what I do know is that like when I was around 17, 18 years old, I was in a store and I picked up a CD by the Doobie Brothers and it was taking it to the streets because I had
Nice.
heard that song and I liked it. And I listened to the whole album and I really like that album. It's got a real like soul, like rock type of vibe thing that I remember liking. And I just remember really enjoying that album. So now to hear this album later, and it's not the same at all. So it's hard to compare these two albums in terms of like the sound, but like there's similarities, but like this one I thought like definitely felt like a return to like roots rock, so like a lot of
Hmm.
Americana, blues,
Yes.
country, like all that. There's a mix of it to gospel, like and like a lot of that's obviously due to the collaborations they're doing, like May Staples and stuff. But like part of it is also just like I don't know, I really enjoy that sound to this album, and so it's just one of those like fun albums to put on, and it's just really enjoyable to listen to the whole way through. And I'm impressed with the collaborations, I'm impressed with the songs, and I just like it's just a really feel good album. Like that's what I
It
like.
is.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, there's some downer tracks like you said, like at
Yeah.
the end, but like I think that in general, like it just has a really nice warm sound to it that I really just appreciate. So I definitely, it was one of those albums where it's like hard for me to pick out tracks that I really just enjoyed it all as a album. But yeah, it's a blast, man. I like that one a lot.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I think I read that the producer of this, his name is John Shanks. He actually co-wrote all the songs on the album. He produced their previous studio album, which was not with Michael McDonald, from 2021, which is called Liberty. And it's actually spelled differently than Liberty. It's Liberty. I can't recall why that is, but I loved that one a lot. Apparently, this guy has toured a lot with Bon Jovi. He co-writes with a lot of people. He produced the final Van Halen album, A Different Kind of Truth, back in 2012. So they're working with a really good producer and co-songwriter on this one, and I think it shows. It's a
Yeah, it
really
does.
solid album.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's really good. Have you followed them throughout their entire career? Like, have you like been like listening to most of like their albums throughout, or like?
Pretty much. I mean, I got turned on to them during the Michael McDonald era. I was a kid when like some of his stuff
Mhm.
was really popular on the radio, like "What a Fool Believes." I think that's
Yeah.
the song that initially made me a fan, and then I went back and got "Taking It to the Streets," and for the
Mhm.
longest time, I consider that to be my ultimate favorite song too, "Taking It to the Streets." And
I that's a good pick. So I can understand that.
yeah. And then, like I said, they were the first act I ever saw in concert. But it was only later that I really started exploring some of their older stuff, the pre-Michael McDonald stuff, like the albums. I think you wrote about one not long ago, or maybe I'm mistaking it was something else. One of their older, or you said that you had listened to it. Maybe I saw you do
I
a post about this.
maybe it's possible. I'm trying to think of like another like I definitely have. I don't remember off the top of my head, but like
Yeah.
yeah, that they've always been a band that I've always appreciated their sound. So it's nice to see that even in 2025 they're still putting out good music. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, I
So
saw that the album got some pretty nice reviews from like,
good.
some critics can be very, very harsh with acts like them that have been around for a long time. But every review I've seen, people are like, "Wow, they've still got it." And
Yes.
so yeah, I love it. If you're a Doobie Brothers fan, check out Walk This Road. And what else you got, my friend?
All right. I got The Tubs is the next one I got.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So they're a London-based Welsh band, and they're one of those bands that are just like they write just good songs. Like they're catchy, they're like upbeat, but
Yeah.
then like you listen to the lyrics and you realize, whoa, there's like a lot more going on here, and it's a lot. There's some like really like sometimes depressing stuff, but it's so interesting to hear that contrast. And throughout the album, I just like I don't know, like stuff like Freak Mode, which is just like that's like one of the standouts. It's one of my favorites, and
I
it's just
like
like
that
such a
one. Yeah.
catchy sing along song that like you start singing along, you're like listening to the lyrics, like wait, what is this about? Like a narcissistic relationship? Like what? But like it's just like that's the feeling of the album for me in general. It's just this really tight album of just great song after great song. And yeah, the guy that like writes most of the music, it's all based on his life, Owen O. Williams. And it's like it's like even on the cover, like it's got like a picture of like of a photo of like his like mom in front of a gravestone, because like his one of the songs, last song on the album, is like about his mom's passing and like him grappling with that. But it's like a really catchy song, and it's just like
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with just their ability to like do that in a way that's like very interesting and like and just good. It just shows good songcraft. I liked their last album as well, Dead Meat. This is, I think, a little bit better in terms of sound and just better songs. But like both of them are good. They're a band that I just want. I continue to tell everyone about them because I want everyone to listen to them. They're just awesome. So
I was so pleasantly surprised by this because when I first looked at it after you told me about it, I saw some of the titles. What's the one called? Freak Show?
freak mode, yeah,
Freak
freak
Mode, I'm
mode,
sorry.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
saw
good.
some of them, and my first thought was, and I don't want to sound like, someone, an older guy or anything like that, but I'm like, is this going to be like just some like uptight, fully angst-ridden, kind of downer of an album? But then I put it on, and I think the first song or so didn't grab me at first, but then I'm like, oh, this music is really good, and like the lyrics are really good, and yeah, I ended up liking it a lot. So it's another one. I thank you for turning me on to it, man. Good stuff.
No, I'm glad to hear it, because yeah, it's definitely one of those ones where I like really hopeful. It's like you said, like you share music and you're like, oh man, I hope they like this. And like for you, I was like, oh man, I hope you like this one, man. And so that one I was very glad to hear like you did, because like that one I just think is just one of, I'm hopeful that ends up on some best to end of your list, because I definitely think it should. So
Yeah, and
uh,
it's the kind of stuff that, like you said, it's there's so much out there. And
yeah.
sometimes it's just a matter of people, I don't know, discovering it. It's like, how do you keep finding music? And like, for example, them, how did you first get turned on to this act? Because they're certainly not a household name.
I read a Pitchfork review about them, and I read it and I was reading, and the guy was happened to be good enough at describing the music, and I was like, I'm pretty sure this is going to be something I like. And then I put on the single Freak Mode, and I was like, oh, this is not just like, this is really good. And then
Yeah.
I listened to the whole album, and then I was just like, okay, like I just kept, and it was one of those albums that like I put on, I just kept listening to it. I kept coming back
Yeah.
to it, and I was like, "Oh, this is just like." I went from being good to really good to being like, "Okay, I recommend this to like anyone I know." And that's and yeah, so it's just like one of those things where like you really try to check on these sites and like read reviews, but it's always hard because like there's just like you said, so much out there, and that one was just happened to be at the right time. I happened to see it, read about it, and it was some of the phrasings and stuff I just happen to know through time of reading other people's reviews, that like this is probably something I'm gonna like. But yeah, it's hard, man. It can be hard to find good stuff out there, but
Yeah.
you gotta look.
Yeah. And yeah, this one's really, really good. So I'm glad that I learned about it from you.
Glad to hear it.
And my next one is one that just came out, well, 2 weeks ago. Actually, my last two albums that I'm going to talk about both came out on July 18th. Now, this is a band that I've always liked, but I was never a diehard fan of, and that is Bush.
Mm-hmm.
And this is their 10th studio album. It follows their 2022 album, The Art of Survival. And Bush has had Bush. I never really listened to. I think I had their first album, their popular album, 16 Stone, from the early 90s, and that had a lot of their big hits on it, like Everything Zen, Little Things, Come Down, Glycerine. That's some of their most popular songs were from that. They had other stuff later on, like Machine Head and Swallowed. The 90s, definitely their most popular time. They were part of that whole grunge scene, which I've never been a big super fan of. I like some of the pop, like Nirvana, I liked a lot. I liked the first couple of Pearl Jam albums, then I got kind of tired of them. But Bush, I liked the songs that I knew from the radio, like the ones I just mentioned. And back in 2022, when I was looking for new music to listen to, I checked out that Art of Survival album, and that ended up being one of my favorite albums of the year. I think song after song, it was just good rock music. just a great jamming album, one song after another. So I was looking forward to this one, and I'm happy to say I like this one even more. It's just a lot of great songs. Have you had a chance to listen to this one?
I
Or
did listen to this one, yeah. So this one, kind of surprised me because, like, I don't know, it was like more harder than I expected. It had more of an edge. It reminded me, for some reason, of a little bit like Nine Inch Nails. For some reason, like I
I
like
can
felt
see
that
that.
like vibe a little bit, and like so like, and I and that group, like, I'm kind of like hit or miss on. Like I like Pretty Hate Machine, I like Downward Spiral. They're good albums, but like they're not always my favorite type of music. But I did like enjoy some of the tracks on here, especially like the one that stood out to me is the Land of Milk and Honey. That
Oh
one,
yeah, that's my favorite.
that was like a big one for me. Like just like good edge to guitar, great synth keyboard work, like melody and lyrics are like strong. Like so,
Yeah.
I did enjoy like some of the tracks. I did feel like towards the end it got a little slower for me than I like, but
Mhm.
I do like a lot of I did like some of the tracks, especially towards the beginning of the album. They were definitely stronger and they I don't know it connected with me. I was very surprised that the sound was just a lot different than what I expected because I'm used to hearing that their earlier stuff, and I don't know, for some reason it just like it their perception of my perception of them, like Glycerine, just didn't match up with like that. So it was like a very different like
Right.
mix for
Yeah.
me. So I was just like, oh, okay, like this is where they're headed. Okay, that's interesting. It's not what I expected, but also like not bad. But I don't know. So I think that's one that I feel like I have to like sit with a little more before I make a final decision on. But I did listen to it twice, and I think I liked it more the second time. So I do wonder if it's like an album that grows with you too.
Yeah, that's how it's been for me too. I mean, I liked it initially hearing it. Like some songs, like you said, stood out more than others. Like
Mm-hmm.
in particular, "The Land of Milk and Honey." The music's
Yeah,
so great and the lyrics are good. They kind of dropped the F-bomb in there a few times. Not
in
that
a
I'm saying
great way. In a great way.
yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
cool the way they do it actually. I really like that a lot. Other great songs on there that some of my favorites have become over time. "We're All the Same on the Inside," "We Are of This Earth," "Footsteps in the Sand."
Yep.
It's the final song on there is called "Rebel with a Cause," and at first I saw that title, I'm like, oh, that are they that could be
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
cheesy playing off a "Rebel Without a Cause," but it's actually a good song, good closing track to the album. Like I said, I'm not a diehard Bush fan, not a diehard grunge fan. I think in some ways, like you said, it's reminiscent of their older classic music, but
Mm.
also different.
Yeah.
And the singer still sounds the same, and the music
Yes.
is got some
Yes.
great guitar work in it.
Yes.
Good rock album.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't have much else to say, but
Yeah,
I
same
was
here.
it's one of those things that like it's one of those albums that I just like it's interesting to me because I was a little, like I said, I was just a little surprised it had more of an edge than I guess I was expecting. But yeah, it's interesting for sure. But
Excellent. And what interesting music do you have to share next?
oh yes, one last one I think. Yeah, it was pacing. Planet Fitness I think was the last one I had
Yeah,
for yeah,
this
which
was the one
is
I said was my other favorite of the five.
oh nice. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah,
Oh man, it's
uh
so good.
It's so, it's so
You go ahead and
she's
say
so
that.
funny. Yeah, so the last album she did, which is like the album title is like insane. It's like 30 words. I'm not going to say it all, but it's like real poetry is it's in that album. That was the first time I heard one of her songs. It was I want to go outside, which is like part musical, part folk, like, and it was just like so like weird. And I listened to that, I was like, and it connected with me, and I laughed, and I was like, this is just so funny, and like it just connects. So like I moved into I was excited when I heard this new album was coming out, so I listened to the whole thing. I reviewed this one, and another one where I just gave it really good, said really good things about it because like it just like she's just really funny and engaging and
Yeah.
like very smart lyrically and just like but also like catchy and I don't know, like Planet Fitness is the title track on there. It's just like one of the funniest like songs, and it's like all about her trying to grapple with her father's death in like this very like
Yeah.
funny and moving way, and she's got both working at tandem. And I don't know, that one, Parking Ticket is another one, Uno
Hmm.
is another one. Like there's so much like sad stuff going on, but then or like anxiety stuff going on that like for me I connect with, and it's just like I can understand like and it just like you connect with it in a very beautiful, interesting way. So love that album. It's quick too. It goes by like
Oh
that,
yeah, it's not even a half hour long, isn't it?
No,
It's just under a
no,
half hour.
no.
Yeah.
Correct.
But it's
Yeah.
still like
No,
eight or nine. It's like it's a
packed.
lot of
Yeah.
songs. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
packed.
it's really, really good. I was so pleasantly surprised by that. And I know you actually were able to hear that before the official release,
I
weren't you?
did, yeah. I was like, yeah. So I that was another one where like, yeah. So I reviewed it. So like, they typically give it to me a couple of weeks before I work on it. I write it and then put it out there. And yeah, that one I had listened to, and I was like, this is going to be really good. I'm like, I hope you're okay with like picking one like close to the date of the when we're recording here. And I'm glad you're okay with that because yeah, this one I was like, I have to talk about this one. So
Yeah, and
glad to
I
hear it.
was got a little busier than I had expected this week, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get to it. And I
I'm
listened to
glad
it
you had a chance.
yesterday, and just song after song, I'm like, this is fantastic. Right afterwards, I went and followed her on Instagram, and she's fun on there too. She seems
Yeah,
like she's just got this great sense of humor, but really talented musician, you know. And I assume she writes all the songs.
writes all the songs. She records a lot of them at her house. She doesn't like. She's very like raw DIY type of stuff for that. I mean, she's got a art. She's got a label and everything. But like she like, but the way she does it, it's a lot of like she does a lot of her own production and everything. So like some of it does have a lot of like very raw sense to it. But like yeah, it's she's impressive. Like I she puts out a lot of music too. I like even though she has two actual albums out. Like she's got like a couple other ones that are unofficial like LPs that she puts out. So she's got quite a bit of music that she puts out regularly, and I'm pretty. I don't know
Uh-oh.
how she like comes up with all these songs as quickly. Oh.
Oh, I think we're good now. You froze for just a second. Now we're good.
Okay, good.
Okay,
But I
good.
was just gonna say, like, yeah, no, it just her. I'm amazed that she's able to keep releasing such consistently good music in this release schedule in this way. Where like I don't know, just, it's impressive. So she's
And it
really
looks
cool.
like she's on tour or like maybe in the middle of a tour right now. And yeah,
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 she's
very
on with
impressed.
someone. I can't remember. She's opening for a big act. Can't remember who it is, but yeah, no, yeah, she. I still haven't seen her live. She's one of those ones I want to see. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I was really, really happy with that album. That's one I've only played it through all the way once so far, but I'm probably going to put it on this afternoon too. What,
awesome. Glad to hear
yeah.
it. Yeah,
What I'm going to do too is I'm going to make up a Spotify playlist of at least one song from each of these albums that we talked about today, and I'll include a link to that if anyone's interested in checking out the music, or if you don't want to just go check it out on your own too, because these are good albums that we're talking about. And anything more you want to say about that
no,
excellent
I
album?
think I think that I think that's all I got. That was perfect.
Okay. Well, I'm going to finish with a band that I have been a fan of for as long as I've been listening to music. I mean, some of those first songs that I heard and enjoyed on the radio were some of their hits in the 70s and it's through the 80s. And I've seen them multiple times in concert. And there's the legendary band Styx. And they released their 18th studio album on July 18th. It's called Circling from Above. And this is they've actually been pretty busy the last decade. This is their third album, like in the past decade. One of them from I think it was, gosh, I wish I had written this down, and actually I did. Ha ha ha. They had done an album back in 2017 called The Mission, which was a concept album, which was all about a mission to the planet Mars in the year 2033. While I liked that one quite a bit, the music I thought was really good. Sometimes I'm not in the mood for a concept album, and so that one didn't grab a hold of. It's not one that I return to as much as I have with other Styx albums. They did another one called Crash of the Crown in 2021, which is I think very good. And of course, you've got all their classics. You know, you've got all their stuff from the 70s. You know, Equinox, Pieces of Eight, The Grand Illusion, Paradise. Is it Paradise Theater? I think it is.
That
No,
sounds yep, that
yeah,
sounds right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the Kilroy was here, which had Mr. Roboto and other
Yep.
things on it. I've been a fan, like I said, for so long. I've seen them. I actually just saw them last. I've seen them like maybe 7 or 8 times in concert, so I'm a pretty long time fan. What I like about this album is it's I think it is. I know I'm kind of rambly here. I'm just trying to find the right words. I think it's one of their best albums. Not even since Dennis D. A lot of people said it's one of their best since Dennis DeYoung left the group in 98 or 99. He was replaced by Lawrence Gowan, who is really quite a frontman in concert. He's really entertaining. But I think not only the best since DeYoung left, but I'd say it's one of their best albums. It's a solid album, one song after another. They kind of like are all over the place musically on here. You got some nice ballads. You got some great rockin' songs. One song sort of sounds like it could have been like released in the 40s. It's got like this kind of like I forget what they call it, like a not quite jazz, but like almost like a musical. It seems like it could have been in a Broadway musical. That one's called Everybody Raise a Glass. And there's just so many good songs in here. Styx now is much different than the Styx from way back when. I mentioned that Dennis DeYoung left the group quite a while ago. Some people, I've seen some music fans say there is no Styx without Dennis DeYoung because he was essentially their leader for the longest time, but they had a big falling out. I like Lawrence Gowan a lot. I know you've seen him in concert at least a couple times, right?
Yes, I have seen them. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think he's great in concert. And to me, of the of albums that they've released, with him, I think this is the fourth or fifth one now with Gowan. This is my favorite, where I think he shines the most. One thing I like about this album a lot too is in multiple songs you hear the lead vocalist share the vocals. Like there's one with James J.Y. Young, who is not my favorite singer in the group. He doesn't have like as good of a singing voice, I think, as Tommy Shaw or Dennis DeYoung did. But I'm kind of iffy on his songs sometimes. But he shares like the vocals with Gowan in one, and then Gowan sings with Tommy Shaw in other songs. They've got a new member too. His name's Will of Ivankovic, I think it is, and he's actually. He toured with them last year and at the same time became like an official member. But he's been working with them for over a decade. He co-produced, I think, their last two albums. He's written with Tommy Shaw, even going back to a side project Tommy did years ago, called Shaw Blades, with Jack Blades, who was in Damn Yankees with him. So they've been associated a long time. Ivankovic, I think, co-wrote most of the songs on this album. He even sings lead on one or two, and it's just really solid. I mean, one song after another, it's very, very good. I really am pleasantly surprised with how much I like this. I was worried about this one going into it because I had heard that it was a concept album. The thing is, it's not exactly a concept album. It's
No.
I think that's been reported wrong in the press. I think I even saw someone in the band actually say that too. It said, no, yeah, Tommy Shaw. He said, no, we're not actually making a concept album. We're just trying to stay on the same track. He goes, that's what interests us, to make it interesting to the person listening to it and tying it all together. I think where people got confused about that maybe is the first couple tracks kind of tie in together. Circling from Above. There's an instrumental at the beginning, then it goes into a song called Build and Destroy. And I kind of shared a little. Boy, I keep saying kind of too much. Anyway, let me read this what Tommy Shaw had said. He said that that song "Build and Destroy" was inspired by like the public's continuing interest in space and all the things that are kind of up there above us, circling us from above. He said that he has an app that he discovered that you can look up and see all the space junk that's floating around. And it blew his mind that all this stuff was floating around up there. Every piece of equipment that's up there that's basically junk is owned by a country, and that country knows where it is and is responsible for it. It's organized chaos, but it's a junkyard up there. And they had discussed it in the studio, and they were get ready to write songs, and that influenced some of the lyrics and ideas that kept popping off and on throughout the album. But it was mostly those first two songs, and then even like the producer Ivankovic had said, yeah, from there they kind of just went off in different directions. So if you've heard it's a concept album, that's kind of scared you a little bit, which it honestly it did with me. I was worried going into this album. I'm like, please, please, please. I'm not a concept album hater, but I just wanted to hear like a good collection of songs without having to necessarily follow a story every time. You could do some good concept albums where the songs stand alone, on their own too. That's the kind that I like the most. Even like Pink Floyd's The Wall. You
Mhm.
can listen to several songs and they're separate. People love so many of those songs like Comfortably Numb without having even heard the whole Wall album. And to me, that's the way to do a concept album. Same with The Who, with Tommy and stuff like that.
No, exactly. I mean, it's funny that that you said, yeah, because like you said like, oh well, like it's like the people felt like that was because it was like the transitions between the tracks were good and like connected. I'm like, well, that's also just a good album. Like I'm glad that
Yeah,
people, it's
yeah,
like they knew how to like make like craft like put song after song in a way that's like interesting to listen to. And I think that's like one of the most fascinating parts about this album is just like you said, how wide ranging it is in its terms of influence. And like you have like songs like you mentioned, Raise a Glass, whatever it's called,
hmm
and then like Blue Eyed Raven I had, which is like
Oh,
Celtic old world inspired
yeah,
stomp
got, like
stuff. Like,
ukulele and stuff in
yeah,
there.
it's wild. And you're like,
Yeah,
okay, like where's like I just would have never expected like to hear that. I don't know, from Styx. I'm only familiar with a lot of their greatest hits type of stuff. So like for me, it's not as like I'm not as connected to them in terms of like listening to many of their albums. But this one, I just was interesting to hear like all these influences of like most likely all the stuff that they like
yeah,
coming together in this like really interesting fun way to listen to. So yeah, Build and Destroy is one of the best songs that
yeah. I
I
like
think in
that
the
one a lot.
album. Like that just like this Pink Floyd influence, and like I just like with like really just great lyrics, great instrumentation. Like I really, to hear the background of what they were thinking when they were writing that song, definitely, yeah, it helps me really enjoy it more. So I
Same for
really,
me.
really
Yeah.
like that song too. So yeah, I don't know, just like really like going from just different, different type of instrumentation and like sonicality from song to song. I'm just amazed that they're able to pull off so much of it so well. And I'm glad to hear that, like, you said that like, it's one of the best albums they put out like ever. Like I'm not surprised to hear that, considering what the range of what they're doing and just
Yeah,
how
I
well they're
think
able
they've
to do
got
it.
like just a really good solid group of performers now too. They've been together. Most of them have been together for now for quite some time. Like I mentioned, Gowan's even been with them now over 25 years. And then you had the one guy who just became officially a member, but he's been working with them for over 10 years. Uh, they have a new bass player, Terry Gowan, who is the brother of Lawrence Gowan. So they're a close knit group, and I think there were some problems in the past where there was some clashing between members. Like Dennis DeYoung's music to a large degree could be very theatrical.
Yep,
And I've seen interviews with James Young and Tommy Shaw where they said sometimes they didn't really particularly want to do that kind of stuff. They wanted to, more rock out. So I think now you've got like a very cohesive group of musicians together. And
that
yeah,
makes
I think they're
sense.
just from the interviews that I've seen, they're having a blast, writing these songs together and jamming. And one thing, I don't know if you remember this song, but there's one towards the end of it. It's called "We Lost the Wheel Again." It sounds like the Who. Parts
Yes,
of it's
yeah, yeah,
like the
yeah.
singer. I don't know if it's I think it might be the new guy singing lead on that. I'm not sure who sings lead on it. But he sounds like Roger Daltrey throughout the song. It's got like this very
Yes,
early Who kind of
yes,
sound. So
yeah.
it's the kind of album that I hope gets heard because I do get this, groups like this. It's hard to get their new music played anywhere. Usually you'll only hear Styx, their classic music on radio or satellite stations. It's one that I hope people discover it because it's really a good album.
It reminds me of another album that we actually talked about the last time I was here, which was Yes's Mirror for the Sky, or
Oh
Mirror of the
yeah.
Sky. And like that's another album where it's like, a lot of people aren't talking about that album still. And it's unfortunate because like it's an album that's really interesting, sonically, and like really engaging, and like does have that feel of like that one's interesting because it feels more like their old albums, but like
Yeah.
in a different way. But like this one, it's so, but I know what you mean. Like sometimes these artists, if they're like legacy acts and they've been around a long time, like it's hard to like, you're right, know that you're even putting out an album sometimes and like then listen to it. But yeah, I hope so too, because like I think part of the reason it's so strong is like when you have a band that's been touring for so long and they just like put it, and they're so like actively engaged in their music, like the way these guys are, like I just feel like they just have their chops built up so much over time that like, they're playing well. Like you said, they're playing well together. They played well together for a long time, and they're connecting. So it
Yeah.
works. Yeah,
And I agree with you. And I think one thing that I've seen in multiple interviews with the band members over the past decade or so, too, is that they realize that they're not going to sell records like they used to. Their albums aren't going to be like,
yeah.
the big blockbusters. And they say that and some musicians might just say this, but they say they're doing it for themselves. They still love writing songs. They still love making new music. They know they've got their base that will hear it, and they're having a great time. And to for a group that's been together for over 50 years, I mean that's wonderful to know that they're still having a blast making new music and making such good music.
No, that's so true. Because like some, like you do, they don't say it, but like you do hear some bands that like you feel like they're trying to recapture in this like glory era in a way that just doesn't connect, and like it kind of feels like they're mailing it in, and like
Hmm.
that's not what I feel like when I listen to this. This is like, because first of all, because it is so different, but also because there's something happening in it that just like you said, you can tell like it's definitely authentic. They're doing it for themselves rather than
Yeah,
trying to be something that they were in the past that they're not going to be able to be. So yeah,
exactly, exactly. Well, I think we covered it, didn't we?
I think we did. We
Oh,
really
we did
well.
want to mention. I don't know if you had done this. We talked about it beforehand, but I had
Yes,
some runner-up albums that I was going to mention.
I have some
Did you
too.
did you
Yeah,
have some other ones that,
I
that
do.
kind of
I
didn't
do.
quite make your top five?
I do.
Go
Yeah.
for it.
So a couple here. I have Newman's Opening, which is a ambient country album. Got a trio out of New York City. A lot of crazy stuff with this one. Just like weird, like you got banjo and like violin and all and mandolin and all that kind of stuff going on in the background with like there's no actual lyrics, it's just vocals and like stuff. But if you like kind of the Hayden Pedigo stuff, if you listen to some of the stuff that Buddy picks out here, that would be a good one I would check out too.
Cool.
Miley Cyrus I had on there, obviously. Hiromi out there who is she is a pianist, jazz pianist. She's I've followed her work for a long time, and she is just very, very, very good at playing piano and plays with a lot of good trios. This one has her playing with it's like more like electronic and jazz fusion inspired. So if you look into that, that's a lot of crazy stuff going on with that one. But it just didn't make it because it's hard for her now to blow my mind because I've heard so many of
I understand that. Yeah.
she kind of got to that point. And then two more I had were Claramon's Rift, which is like she's like a folk artist who just like debut album, just like she's from England and just one of those voices that's really like at first you hear it, you're like, whoa, I don't even know if I like this. But then like you start connecting with the lyrics and the music, and it's very raw. Definitely recorded it in her bedroom or something, and it's just very, very emotional, and like the intimacy of how she recorded it kind of like also reflects on like the subject matter that she's singing about, and I think it all connects in this really beautiful way. So that one's a good one. And then Emma Jean Thackeray's Weirdo, which is like a weird mix of R&B, jazz, and pop music, and it's a double album. It's all about mental health, and Thackeray was like working through her depression and like trying to like work it all through with music. And she plays like every instrument on the album from saxophone to like sings to guitar to piano. And it's like you look at the album liner notes and it's like 129 like different parts on the album, but they're all her name, which is like
Oh
funny. She did it
wow.
on purpose to like make it a joke, but like yeah, it's all her. And she does have a couple collabs, but it's pretty much all her.
I'm sorry.
And
What's her name again?
Emma Jean Thackeray.
Oh,
It's
okay.
another British artist. Weirdo is the name of the album. And that one, yeah, just incredibly talented musician who just like singing about mental health and like trying to grapple with the depression that she's working through, just like with loss. Because I think I can't remember. Someone in her family died, and she's trying to work through it. And it's a very beautiful, sometimes sad, sometimes uplifting album. So that's my last one. But what did you
Okay.
have?
Well, great. I got a few here. One that almost made my list. I kept going back and forth as to whether or not I was going to use this or the Miley Cyrus album. Is 10 Crowns by Andy Bell. He's someone who
Don't
I
know
just
that.
recently discovered. He's the lead singer for the band Erasure, who have been around a long time. That song is
Yes.
a little respect. And that
Mhm.
came out, I'm not sure. I think it was just maybe a couple months ago, and I find myself playing it a lot. Really, really good pop music, like a lot of like dance type music in there.
Cool.
Really, really solid album. This one I've only listened to once so far, but I think it's going to keep growing on me. And it's the new album by Haim, I Quit.
Yep.
And
Yep.
they're pretty. I like them. I'm not a diehard fan, but I like at least one or two songs from each of their albums. They're a good group. This is a indie band. They're from I believe Massachusetts, maybe Maine. It's called Gentle Hen. Have you ever heard of Gentle Hen?
That
Probably
that yes,
not.
I know that name does sound a little familiar, but I don't think I've heard. I would I think I remember. I do know I've heard of them, and I've heard of them because you've written about them. I read.
Oh yeah,
That's
that's
how I
right. I
heard about them.
included them.
Yes.
One of their albums was made
Yeah.
my like top 10 for I think last year or the year before, and
Yes.
this is their newest one. It's called The Wrong Record, and it's kind of a neat concept where they actually the songs that are on this album are songs that they recorded for other albums, but they didn't feel at the time. I don't know if they quite fit on this. They might be wrong for this particular record, so
That's
they can
funny.
come out of it, and it's the wrong record, and it's good power pop, kind of light rock stuff. I really like this group a lot. Gentle Hen, check them out. They've got several albums. Um, Blondshell, I like Blondshell's new album. If You Ask for a Picture, I don't love every song on it, but it's got quite a few good songs.
Yeah, that's a good
Um,
album.
and L.A. Guns is like another hair metal band, most popular, I guess, in the '90s. I never really was into them way back when. I'm more into hair metal now than I ever was, and shocker, huh? But their new one's called Leopard Skin, and that came out earlier this year, and it's pretty much what you would expect from a band like that. It sounds good. It sounds like '90s, '90s rock. They still have the same sound they did years ago, and I like it. And the
That's
last one I'm
awesome.
going to mention is by Colin Hay. He was the singer for Men at Work, and he's had a very successful solo career since then. About 20 years ago, he put out an album called Man at Work, where he had done like stripped down versions of some of his solo recordings, but also a couple of Men at Work songs. Like he did an acoustic version on that of their big hit song Overkill. This album is Man at Work Volume 2. It's like about
Cool.
20 years later, and it's a combination of his solo music and Men at Work songs, but like sort of stripped down. Some are like acoustic, but some just have like less music than they originally did, less musicians. They sound a little different, but it's really, really good. I've only had a chance to listen to it twice so far, but he does a version on there of one of my favorite Men at Work songs called "Blue for You," which was on their second album, Cargo, and it's one of my favorite Men at Work songs. And he did a damn good remake of it on this album. So there you go. Those are my almost made it's.
Awesome.
And Bill, thank you so much for
Thank
being on
you,
the show
man.
today, man. I love
Absolutely.
talking about music with you. Thank you for turning me on
Same
to
here,
some stuff.
man. Same here, man. Thank you for introducing me to reminding me of some of this good stuff that I didn't know they were still making out albums. So I'm glad to hear all this good stuff. So it's been awesome.
Excellent. Excellent.
Thank you, man.
You're welcome. And Bill, where can people find you online? Because you write about music and other things.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, I'm on Substack. And I'm on I think it's under Bill's Takes .substack.com. But then I also, I write for Spectrum Culture. I'm a staff contributor there. I write all that's where I do most of these album reviews come from. So like most of the stuff that I've talked about today, I've written about. So you can look on me there and I got it all. So if you go into my name under there, you can find it all. And then I also write in a couple other places. I done a couple articles on I Have That on Vinyl, which is another music blog, and I've written on Third Eye psych rock blog, which is I've done like a lot of like retrospectives on like older stuff. So Pink Floyd, I wrote
Oh,
about
nice.
their debut album, Pepper at the Gates of Dawn. I wrote about uh Todd Rundgren's A Wizard, a True Star.
Oh, wow.
I wrote about a weird uh psych rock album that like it's relatively clean rivers that one's like kind of like obscure. I wrote about that one. So yeah, I kind of cover like the like old stuff and like do like a big like essay about it. So that's pretty much what I do is a lot of writing, about music. So
Yeah, it's an awful lot of writing in
mostly,
there. People,
yeah.
I love that people can find you in so many places.
Yes.
And we talked before the show, folks, and we were talking about Substacks. We're both
Yep.
fairly new to Substack, and actually, I record the show now, and it's distributed through Substack. So yeah, you can find this on Substack. As some of you know, it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music, it's on Amazon, it's on YouTube, and yeah, look for me on Substack, and I'm very, very active on Blue Sky. Have you tried Blue Sky?
I am on Blue Sky as well. Yes. So that's
Okay,
the
we
other
need to
place where I'm
connect
at.
on
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm really,
Absolutely. Yes.
I am super into the music challenges on there. They do music challenges every month. If you're on there and you're looking to, learn about good music, just type in music sky, hashtag music sky, or hashtag music challenge. And if you're a music lover, I bet you're going to find a whole bunch of stuff that you're going to probably go down rabbit holes with. It's kind of fun and addicting.
Awesome.
So yeah, look for me in those places. And Bill, thanks again for being on.
Thank you, man, for having me.
My pleasure. And thank you for watching or listening. I hope no matter what you're doing, you have a fantastic day. Take care, folks.
See you later.
Okay. And there's that stop button. So bye again.